All right then. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March 21st regular council meeting. This is being held virtual along with in person here. So it's 9:31 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. I will let council know that following our delegation or in around 11 o'clock, we will go into closed session for our solicitor is going to be here and we will have to break for that. And then we'll come back into whatever's left in the meeting. So I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement here. And we respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Coastal A, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity. And they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll ask everyone to turn your cell phones off or place them on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest. If it arises, you can declare it now or declare it if something comes up later. We have minutes here from the regular council meeting of March 7th. I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes if everything's in order. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. So we're going to move into committee of adjustment with Deputy Mayor Webb in the chair. So I'll look for a motion that we go into committee of adjustment. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Flagler. All in favor? That's carried. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Members of Committee of Adjustment. I'll call this public meeting to order and remind the members of the committee of the requirement to disclose any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof if the occasion arises. This public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. We'll now have our planning consultant, Aria Jazi, present the minor variance reports of either for today.
Through to the chair, application A0723 for applicants Lucas Duffy and Madison Glass, owners of vacant parcel identified as Park Lot 21 on Concession 2, having frontage on both County Road 48 and Belmont Concession 1. The property is currently zoned as rural and environmental protection with a rural designation, land use designation under the official plan. The purpose of this minor variance application is to seek relief from section 4.1C to permit the construction of a single-story detached garage with an additional half-story of space for storage purposes. The application for this application will have the following effects. Number one, just increasing the maximum required height of an accessory structure or use from 4.5 meters to 6.1 meters. That would be a difference of 1.6 meters. So the recommendation is that the minor variance application A0723 be approved with the following conditions. That the development be completed in accordance with a site plan submitted, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements, and that the balance of this report be received. As my report stipulates, the township has determined that the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance. It is also consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the 2 planning policy documents at the provincial level. Pro Valley Conservation Authority was consulted on this application and they had expressed no concern. The location of the proposed garage is situated outside the floodplain area and is consistent with Pro Valley Conservation's regulatory policies. Therefore, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Aria. Is the applicant or agent present here today or online?
Present.
Can you state your name, please, sir?
Lucas Duffy.
I'm Madison Glass.
Okay, do you have any comments or?
Nope, no comments, no concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in opposition to this application?
Yes, I do.
Okay, could I get your name, sir?
My name is Basil Williams.
Johanna Williams.
And Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, we own the property on which this encroachment is being made. And I have not had enough time in which to seek legal counsel on this. And I would like to propose that the deference be made on this application until such time.
Okay.
We can have some legal representation and advice as to what we are to be doing here. So we'd like this thing to be postponed.
Okay, thank you, Aria. Have we followed all the timelines?
Through to the chair.
On that piece.
I do believe that this property was, under my understanding, it was purchased by the owners who are Lucas Duffy and Madison Glass. I do believe that under the zoning regulations, they are permitted to create a single detached dwelling unit, which is zoned, the property is currently zoned rural, and they are permitted by right to create a dwelling unit on their property, as well as any accessory uses. This application is as minor as it can get. They're seeking relief from the zoning bylaw to increase their structure's height by 1.6 meters. All the other regulations of the zoning bylaw have been maintained to the fullest.
Yes, we still would like to reserve the right to have legal advice and input in regard to this variance since it involves us.
Through you, through the chair. Legal advice on what exactly? Are you guys the property owners?
Yes, we are.
We are part owners of this property and we are representing the whole group involved.
Under the chair, perhaps maybe the applicants, Lucas Duffy and Madison Glass, have any comments to make in this regard?
Yeah, we would like to make a couple comments. We have full clear title of this property after we bought it, which has already gone through lawyers and legal counsel. So I'm just unclear as to why there's somebody else that would think they have title to the property.
We would like to reserve all comments in regard to this matter until we have we only received notice of this meeting on Thursday, and we would like to be advised and have somebody represent us in this matter. We are not legal-minded people. We are also clear title owners of our property. We do pay tax for the property, and we want to be able to reserve our right to speak to somebody who can advise us and direct us as to how we should proceed on this matter.
Okay, thank you for that, Mayor Martin.
I'm just not understanding if are you next door to the property, or are you this property in question you're
We
saying?
are owners of the property
property-
that for which you are seeking variance.
So through to the chair, perhaps maybe we can add a condition that title proof be provided to the township as to who the owners are, and then require the same conditions to move forward.
Any comments from any other members of the committee before we?
So can I ask a question, please, for you? So does the property that you're saying that you own abut right onto the property line of the person applying for this?
Yes,
So you abut on, you're right beside it, you're not on it, you're beside the person.
well, they are encroaching on our property. The variance is being sought on our property.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. Mayor Martin, you have a comment?
Yeah, Ferrari, so all the sideline, we're meeting all the requirements here. It's just the height that this is about.
Through to the chair, yes, absolutely. I believe all the setback requirements are met. As a matter of fact, the property is at Lucas and Madison. You guys can attest to this. How large is the property? It's about 5.6 acres, right?
No, it's closer to 42 acres.
Closer to 2 acres?
42.
42, sorry. Yeah, we're talking about a property that's 42 acres. If we're talking about setback requirements under the zoning bylaw for accessory uses, 10 feet is what is permitted. Like anything encroaching on 10 feet is considered, would be required to go through planning approval. This is a 42 acre lot. They meet all the setback requirements from property lines.
So, just reading into this, sir, you're not disputing the setbacks, right? You're disputing.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. We have already stated that we have not done our homework, as you have. You have done all that you need to do to protect yourselves, and we would like to have that same opportunity.
That's all.
And I don't want to continue discussing this matter.
And we understand, thank you very much, but
Respect your right and whatever you have, but at least give us that right to be able to research and to be advised and to know what this thing is all about. We are just plain property owners that went ahead and bought a piece of land and is sitting there, and whatever has been going on, we would like to know how and why and wherefore and what the rules and regulations are. And we need to have that time, please, and that right respected.
okay, then that's kind of what we're trying to get to the bottom to here of,
This means that more discussion.
okay, Aria, do you have comments?
Through to the chair. So this, and I'm sorry, I can't catch your names. It's not on the title over there. So this.
The names are Basil and Johanna Williams.
Nice to meet you. So Mr. and Mrs. Williams, this application was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act, which requires 10 days before a minor variance is before the hearing. It would be circulated to all applicants, neighboring properties as well. So this application was circulated in accordance with all legislation, which is the Planning Act. So
yes, there are also other names on the title. The other names on the title you have there is Nana Ayiko and her sister Elizabeth. Her mother has transferred title ownership, we understand, to these two girls, her daughters. And so your thing apparently went to them. We didn't know anything about it. We were only notified. And my husband read this notification on his phone on Thursday morning. And so we tried all day yesterday to find somebody who could help us and advise us as how to proceed. We were unable to do that up to 4:30 yesterday evening. And I'm saying that I feel compromised to be able to have to go forward with something that we are very unclear about what we are doing. And in all justice and fairness, I think we should be allowed to reserve this right to ask for a postponement on this matter until we are satisfied that our rights and privileges have been acknowledged.
So being
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. As I said, we've heard what you've had to say, and I'll just open up to the committee. Councillor Doherty.
Through you, Mr. Chair. First of all, is it 42 acres or 5.62 acres? I'm confused, number one. And number two, would you be receptive if we could postpone or defer the application until our meeting on April the 4th? Would that give you sufficient time to get representation? And because we don't want to hold up the application unnecessarily, but does that do it?
That would be fine.
That would be fine.
That would be more than adequate.
We do the planning in the second meeting. So 18.
So I guess there's no exceptions to any rule then, in order to speak, we've got to wait a month. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, our planning meetings are the second meeting of the month. Yeah.
Well, I guess the question was, will the 4th do it for them to get it? So I guess the 18th would probably give them ample time then, wouldn't it?
We could also add a condition
So,
to the chair to confirm the title before issuance of a building permit.
okay, so the motion is to defer to the 18th or the 4th.
Well, we can't have it on the 4th, apparently, that's etched in stone, so the 18th will be the next. There, but the question was that will that give them enough time to get a legal opinion? And they said, yes, it would, so the 18th would do.
So Mr. and Mrs. Williams, what if we defer this till our April 18th meeting? Would that afford you enough time to contact the people you need to contact to deal with this?
Yeah, what, excuse me, what day is this? I don't have a calendar here.
April 18th, it would be Tuesday.
Oh, yes. That would be more than adequate.
Yes, barring any unforeseen conditions, yes, we will accept this date as one that we will.
You have all the conditions that are put forth now, so it's just a matter of you getting an opinion. I think but at least that's what I heard of.
Yeah,
Yes.
opinion and if necessary, representation.
Yep. Okay, so we have a motion from Councillor Doherty to defer this to the meeting April 18th. We have a second for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Clement. Any comments? Seeing none, all question, all in favor of the motion? Thanks. Okay, and motion is passed, and Mr. and Mrs. Williams, that will be deferred and it will be on our April 18th meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
And at what time, please?
And we're
It'll be 9:30.
Okay, thank you
Tuesday,
very
April
much.
18th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Cool. Everybody kick things off. Roll right into our second report there. Aaron.
Yeah. Through to the chair, application A0823 for applicant Jerry McGowan, property owner of a parcel of land located and described as part lot 3, concession 2, with municipal address of 349 Second Line. The property is currently zoned as rural with a rural land use designation under the official plan. The purpose of this minor variance application is to seek relief from section 4.1C, 4.1EI, 4.1EIV, 4.11DBII, 4.11DIX, and 6.2.6C of the Township's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw to permit the development of an addition to an existing accessory detached garage and to lawfully recognize a portable garage / storage shed. This application will have the following effects. There's about 6 here. Reducing the minimum required height of the accessory use and structures from 4.5 meters to 6.1 meters. Provide relief from the requirement that the accessory use or structure be developed rear of the required front yard. Reduction of the minimum separation distancing of structures from 1.5 meters to 1.4 meters. Reducing the minimum separation distance of structures from portable garages from 3 meters to 1.4 meters. Increasing the height of portable garage structures from 3.7 meters to 4.2 meters, as well as reducing the minimum required front yard setback from 13 meters to 14 meters, all of which are minor in nature. The recommendation of this report is that minor variance application A0823 be approved with the following conditions. That the development be completed with the in accordance with the site plan submitted. That the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements. That the development meet all Ontario Building Code setback requirements pertaining to private servicing systems such as like septic systems. That a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of the building permit. And that the balance of this report be received. As my report has stipulated, the township has determined that the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Pro Valley Conservation Authority were consulted on this application, who have expressed no concerns with the development thus far. However, they have requested a site visit during a thought period to determine if the development is encroaching on any wetland features. Wetland features that we can't determine through the county's GIS system. So a site visit will be required for the issuance of the permit, and that concludes my report to council.
Thank you for that, area. Is the applicant or their agent present today? Not hearing anyone. We'll move right into, is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second
Yes.
time. Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Yep,
Yeah, Jerry McGowan here.
See,
you're wishing to speak in opposition,
Yes.
wait,
in opposition to this,
Opposition to it.
or in favor of this?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, we'll just hold on a second.
Okay, sorry. Sorry
No
about that.
problem. No problem. We'll get to you.
quick.
So second time.
Can I speak?
Oh, are you in opposition, sir?
Yes, I think there's been an error here that I would like to clarify.
Okay, thank you. Before you get started.
Last one.
Yeah.
This is from Mr. Williams.
That's the same guy.
Yes,
It's heard.
Okay, sir, I think we've already dealt with your issue. This is a different planning issue. It's not the same one.
I think my husband probably got we came in at the wrong time. I'm sorry, I've never been in one of these meetings here.
and I
Yeah.
think the description of the property.
Sir, we've already dealt with your
No.
issue. Or this,
You know what?
They got the wrong one.
He spoke to the wrong property.
I'm sorry, the name McGowan is the one I'm looking at here I'm wondering if my husband brought up the wrong.
That explains the 5 acres. And
That explains.
right, okay, which one is it?
I'm-
Okay, well, I guess we'll go ahead with this and we'll go back and have to deal with the other one, Bob. Who is your neighbor, Mrs. Williams?
I thought the neighbor he showed me on the paper, the name was McGowan. I seem to
Okay.
remember the name McGowan.
Okay, that's the one we're dealing with, so we'll bring you back in, I guess. So on this issue, we've kind of heard a few minutes ago, your issues with it, but if you could just once again go over for the committee, what your issue is with this, that you haven't had enough time, I take it?
I'm sorry, this is a part of the unpreparedness here. We have a parcel of land, a large tract of land there of 195 acres that was purchased 30 years ago. And that's, there is someone who is seeking variance on this property. And I thought the name my husband showed me yesterday was Jerry McGowan. I'm sorry, I've never met this person because we have been away from Ontario for quite some time now. And so I don't know the people around. So this is, as I said, we are unprepared for the meeting. There are 4 names on the roll: Basil and Johanna Williams and Nana Aiku and her sister Elizabeth. And Nana should have been at this meeting, but she can't make it this morning. The notice was sent out to her.
And forwarded to
And
us.
I am quite embarrassed with this whole thing now.
Okay, yeah, I think we all are, but we'll get over it.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, things happen, we'll deal with it. So I take it, once again, your issue here is that you haven't had enough time and
That's
you're
right.
seeking a deferral here for probably the same amount of time. Planning consultant area would like to make a comment?
Through the chair, absolutely. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Williams, I'm more than happy to sit down with you to have a conversation about any property that you have an interest in. Would you be comfortable booking an appointment with me so that I can, we could sit down, I could bring up maps, I can bring up anything you'd like, and we can speak in relation to like what's permitted, what's not. We can talk about zoning, official plan, all that stuff. And I can give you a good rundown of all these applications as well as, the planning regime in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Would you be interested in that?
And who are we speaking to? I'm sorry.
I'm the planning assistant here at the Township of Havelock, so I deal with all the planning related matters. I'm more than happy to book an appointment with you to meet.
Okay, I won't say no to that.
Okay.
But I also need to find some we need to find some legal person so our interests can be protected, because we are really out of our depth right now with this stuff.
Okay, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, for your comments. finish the thing. I've already asked twice, so for the third and final time, is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, hearing none, there is, I believe, someone, so is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of of this application? Mr. McGowan,
Yes, sir.
you can go ahead.
Well, I don't know these people. I've never met them before. All I know is I bought this property 17 years ago. My wife did, so I don't know, and I got clear title of it. And user saying 5.6 acres. I believe it's 3.8 acres.
Okay. Thank you
That's
for
all.
that.
That's all I can tell you.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of your comments then?
Yeah, well, I like to get this matter cleared up. I heard it on the last one, so I need to get this cleared up. So if I have to wait to the 18th, then I will do so.
Okay, yep, thank you very much for that. So I'll call second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none, I'll open up to the floor of the members of the committee for comments or questions or a motion. Yeah, Mayor Martin, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we defer this till April 18th meeting and clear up some of these.
So we have a motion from Mayor Martin to defer this to April 18th. So seconded by Councillor Clements. Call a question, all in favor? And that's passed. So that will be deferred, Mr. and Mrs. Williams. That one will be deferred to the as well.
I'm very sorry. I'm really.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you very much for your patience. So, in terms of, should we go back? Okay. So committee, I guess we're gonna go back and revisit Duffy. Number 3, and first on the planning report. So I apologize, Aria, you did a good job on the first one. Just give it to me again.
Okay, yeah. Would you like me to go through the report?
Just
Yeah, so application 0723 for applicants Lucas Duffy and Madison Glass. The purpose of this minor variance application is to seek relief from section 4.1C of the zoning bylaw to permit the construction of a single-story detached garage with an additional half-story space for storage purposes. So the difference in the height would be our regulations say 4.5. They want to go to 6.1. That's a difference of 1.6 meters. That's it. That's all. The application, the conditions that the development be in accordance with the site plan submitted, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of the building permit, that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements, these are pretty, and that the balance of this report be received. So my report stipulates that, you know, this application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance, consistent with the provincial policy statement, as well as the great growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Pro Valley was consulted. They shared no concerns with that.
Thank you for that. We went through this before, but the applicant, I guess, is present with us today, Mr. Duffy.
Yeah, we're present. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry to put you through all this.
That's all right.
Trying to add a little bit of excitement. Our meetings are boring. And you get more people to watch. So once again, is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in opposition? Silence is beautiful, isn't it? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone present wishing to speak in favor? Mr. Duffy, you had your say, have you?
Yeah, we're in favor. Thank you.
We'll just keep this rolling then. Anyone wishing to speak in favor for a second time? The third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? So I'll open up to the members of the committee. Councillor Clement.
Could we pass this, please?
I got a motion to approve the application. So
What is the acreage? I'm still confused.
42 acres. Through the chair, it's 42 acres. Yeah, the property. They have a site plan that's has a box that is the 5 acres.
Right. Sorry.
Nope.
Okay. Do we have a motion from Councillor Clement? Do we have a seconder?
Sure.
Seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much for that. And we'll move on to our third report, Arjun. is Brownlee.
Through to the chair, application A0923 for applicants James Brownlee and Ashley Christie, owners of part lot 12, concession 5 with municipal address of 124 Fire Route 30. The property is currently zoned seasonal residential SR with a shoreline designation under the official plan. Section 4.1C. Forgive me, the purpose and effect of this minor variance is to seek relief from sections 4.1C, 4.1E3, 11.2.1G, and 11.2.2.1 of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw. It's to permit the development of an accessory detached garage with a half story of additional space for storage purposes, almost the same as the last one. The application will have the following effects: 1, decreasing the minimum required side lot line setback for accessory structures and uses from 3 meters to 1.2 meters, increasing the height of accessory structures and uses from 4.5 meters to 6.4 meters, which would be equivalent to 21 feet, increasing the lot coverage of the subject parcel from 15% to 22.3%, as well as permitting the development of an accessory structure or use from 75% of the gross floor area of the existing vacation dwelling to 80.4%. So the recommendation of this report is that minor variance application A0923 be approved with the following conditions: that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements and septic systems, that the development be completed in accordance with the site plan submitted, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of the building permit, and the balance of this report be received. So just a little bit of background information on this application. The applicants had previously submitted an application for a minor variance. It was A1320, which the Committee of Adjustment had approved with all conditions and recommendations. At the time of the submission, the applicants had engaged in the services of DM Wills, who authored actually a scoped environmental impact statement on the development and its effects on the nearby wetland. This report deemed the development to be appropriate and not in any confliction with any natural heritage features. Application A1320 passed the committee's approval, and therefore the development further was complicated because there was hydro easements, I believe, adjacent to the property. And a condition of the minor variance application A1320 was that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of the application. So I believe the hydro complications weren't settled or rectified within that 12-month period, so the condition essentially lapsed. So this is why they're essentially resubmitting this application, or the application A1320. As my report stipulates, the township has determined that the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So Coral Valley Conservation were consulted on this application, and they have expressed concerns with the development. The core issue is that the site plan and elevation survey provided to the Conservation Authority was deemed insufficient in terms of like details and information. Therefore, the applicant will be required to resubmit the elevation survey provided to Coral Valley Conservation to determine if the development takes place within like a flood hazard. So in light of this new CVCA commentary, I recommend revising the recommendations. We would be adding a new condition that any revisions to the site plan to bring the development into further conformity with the provincial policy statement be permitted, provided the scale and scope of the development is not increased and all other provisions of the zoning bylaw are maintained. And the second condition is that approval from the following agencies be provided and Coral Valley Conservation. So that concludes my report to council.
Thank you for the report, Arlene. We have the applicant or agent present today. Not hearing anyone. So is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Second time, anyone present or online wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Hearing no comments or questions, I'll open up to the members of the committee. Councillor Clement.
Through you, area was the hydro easement right away, whatever has it been resolved?
Through to the chair, yes, I do believe in my correspondence with the agent of the applicants. The hydro matters were rectified. Yeah, they were rectified. We did a site visit out there.
Okay.
And yeah, I believe that it just took time. It just took months to do. And obviously we know in development, the processes, I guess, are quite lengthy. So that condition lapsed, unfortunately.
Mayor Martin, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve this minor variance.
So we got a motion to approve from Mayor Martin. Seconder or comment?
Please, it says here on November 10th, which I guess would have been after the previous approval, is that they're now putting a washroom in the garage, which somewhat contradicts what we say it's condition of non-habitable. Is that anyone's concern, or is that okay?
Sorry, through to the chair, I believe that past township tradition has been that washrooms, two pieces, whatnot, don't constitute habitable space unless it's for like, obviously, for sleeping quarters and whatnot, washrooms wouldn't be considered habitable space.
Mayor Martin.
And that'll go through the health unit if,
Well, that's where the letter came from.
Yeah.
The people help you.
yeah, so that'll go through them and it has to comply with them, so.
So we have a motion to approve from Mayor Martin. Do I have a seconder from the committee? Seconded by Councilor Clement. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you. We'll move on to our fourth and final minor variance. Report, Sampson.
Through to the chair, yes, application A1023 for property owners Jamie and Ken Sampson. The property has a municipal address of 431 Fire Route 93 with a legal description of Part Law 10. It's a massive legal description, but breaking it down, RP 45 R14726 parts 1 and 2, concession 9. The property is currently zoned as seasonal residential with a shoreline designation in the current in effect township official plan. The purpose of this minor variance application is to seek relief from section 4.37 as well as 4.10BA of the Township Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw, as amended to permit the redevelopment of an existing seasonal recreational dwelling unit and lakeside uncovered deck to its existing foundation alongside an easterly facing single-story addition oriented away from the shoreline. This application will have the following effects. Number one, permit the redevelopment of an existing seasonal recreational dwelling unit and lakeside uncovered deck to its existing foundation. Permit the increase of an existing deficiency as it relates to the height of existing recreational dwelling units within the high water mark setback. And 3, reducing the minimum high water mark setback from 30 meters to 18.3 meters. And by the way, all the reductions are reflective of the current standards of the property, the legal non-compliant. The recommendation of my report is that minor variance application A1023 be approved with the following conditions: that the development being completed in accordance with the site plan submitted, that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements and septic systems, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, and that the balance of this report be received. So just a little bit of background on this application. So the applicants had previously submitted a minor variance A2222, which sought 2 forms of relief essentially. One being the establishment of an easterly side lot line as a result of the severance application, and the application's B6922. And second, the relief from the high watermark setback for the development of a single-story addition oriented towards the eastern portion of the existing dwelling away from the shoreline. After approval of application A2222, which was in December, I believe December 6, 2022, it was determined that a large portion of the existing dwelling unit was actually derelict. It required a full demolition and rebuilds to meet, I guess, engineering standards. The demolition of the entire structure required additional reliefs under the zoning bylaw, which weren't provided in the December 6th meeting. So this is kind of the bread and butter of this application. So just going back to my analysis, as my report has determined, the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the greater growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. This application was circulated to all applicable agencies, inclusive of Crow Valley Conservation, and so far no comments have been received in opposition. That being said, this application is appropriate for council's approval.
Thank you for the report, Aria. Is the applicant or agent present today or online?
Yes, we are.
Can you state your name, please?
Jamie Sampson.
Ken Sampson.
Thank you, Sampsons. Go ahead.
Everything okay?
Oh. Yeah.
We do-
yeah.
We
Sorry.
we do have one comment just to make sure that we understand based on what was just said. I believe Aria mentioned the existing foundation. We'd like to replace the foundation in its current, like according to this site plan, but with a brand new foundation because of the condition of the existing foundation.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you have any comments on that, Aria, or?
Through to the chair. No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, it was unfortunate that they captured the derelict state of the foundation after the variance application had gone through. But I mean, the condition of one of the severances was that a minor variance was to be required. So this is just a resubmission to capture the derelict state of the foundation.
Thank you. So is there anyone present here today or online wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anyone present or online wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, we do.
You already had your say though? Okay. Second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Hearing no more comments, open up to members of the Committee of Adjustment for comments or questions. Yep, Councillor Clement.
Sorry, through you. I just want to make sure I'm clear on this area. So if they're going to repair the basement, are they actually redoing the cottage?
Through to the chair, it would essentially be a tear and rebuild. However, it's all to the same foundation. They're not moving anything or changing any of the scale of development. I believe the back portion is going to be added on top, but I mean, that's outside the high water mark setback. So they're right.
Size for size, it's replica. It's exactly.
Well, the redevelop through to the chair, the redevelopment to the existing foundation, yes, it's going to be to the same, but they have an addition towards, I guess, the eastern portion, which this is just part of the minor variance application, and then it's going above as well. So, but the above addition is all outside the high water.
I was just concerned with the basement. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Was there any consideration, given that the basement is now not usable, of simply moving the foundation back a little bit and having it conform, or is that complicate matters more?
Through the chair. I mean, I don't have the required expertise in that, but I can probably say that would be a costly endeavor. We would kind of rather work with the applicants and build the structure in a place where it's already been disturbed historically, as opposed to encroaching on lands that haven't been disturbed, if that kind of makes sense.
Good, thank you. So once again, no more comments or questions. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Clement, motion to approve. Seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor of the motion? And that's passed. Thank you very much, Aria, for your reports today. Now take a motion to adjourn the public meeting and return to regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Doherty, seconder Councillor Clement, all in favor? Take it away, Mayor Martin.
All right, thank you. That's a first for me, that everything kind of went outside there, but anyways, well, so we do have the delegation here. So what I'm going to ask council is if we can move into the planning reports. We do have one of the applicants here today. So if we could get that out of the way and do the one planning report, then we could go into delegations and get as much of that as we can, because we do have to go into closed session after 11. So so I'll ask for an adjustment on the on the agenda here to move into planning report A.
Someone,
This, 8, sorry, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll just adjust the agenda here, and Arya, if we could move into the Keating planning report.
Review Mayor and Council consent application B8222, currently before Council's consideration, is for the creation of a new lot. So just a little bit of background information, and I'll try to, given time constraint, I'll try to go through this as fast as I can. The property in question comprises approximately 91 acres of land, together with over 370 meters of frontage on Keating Road, and as well as approximately 109 meters of frontage on County Road 46. The property is currently under the ownership of Dale Keating, whose agent is Megan Winter, I believe. To just give a reader's digest of the severance application, and I know I circulated out to everyone, the applicants are wanting to sever off a portion of a lot with a lot line boundary along Bellaforan Creek. Bellaforan Creek, whichever you call it. The application now before council was filed with Peterborough County Land Division in July of 2022. Prior to submission, however, the consent proposal was subject of a preliminary severance review, which is a PSR, completed by Peterborough County Planning Department in February of 2022. The applicants had completed both an environmental impact assessment authored by GHD Consulting and an aggregate resource impact study authored by the Infos. The scoped environmental study had been subject of a peer review by Stantec, and additional commentary had been provided by GHD for further clarification and elaboration. A response to the Stantec peer review was received and forwarded to the township in late 2022. The GHD environmental assessment proposed a different lot line boundary that was proposed by the applicants. This would be outside the 30-meter buffer of the creek. This option was provided under the recommendations of the GHD study. And I'm reading quote for quote, the PSR noted that it is understood that the applicants wish to seek a severance boundary along Bellaforan Creek, contrary to the growth plan requirements for the key hydrologic features. This is pretty much the county just saying that it conflicts with the growth plan. The environmental impact study completed by GHD provided a clear dissemination of a property line boundary outside the feature. In accordance with provincial policy statements. And however, the applicants have since applied for the original intent of severing along the Bellaforan Creek. So just a little bit of analysis on this property. Generally speaking, and in relation to the information provided in my report, it is a township planning opinion that the proposed consent application generally meets and conforms with the policies and regulations of the official plan, as well as the zoning bylaw. However, the severance application also needs to, whenever you're doing a severance application, it needs to conform to provincial policies and policy documents, which is the PPS and the growth plan. Under the provincial policy statements, in particular, section 2.1.8, development and site alteration shall not be permitted on adjacent lands to natural heritage features unless the ecological function of the adjacent lands have been evaluated and it has been determined or demonstrated that there will be no negative impacts associated on the future. The applicants had, the applicants at the request of Peterborough County had completed the scope environmental study to bring this development in conformity with the provincial policy statement. So it does actually satisfy this requirement. However, now that we turn to the growth plan, which is another provincial policy document, similar to the PPS, the growth plan permits lot creation in rural areas, provided the applicable policies of the plan are met. The subject lot is within the province's natural heritage system based on the mapping, and therefore section 4.2 of the growth plan applies to the creation of a lot, as well as this property. So section 4.2.4 of the growth plan, and I'm reading it quote by quote, development or site alteration is not permitted in the vegetation protection zone with the exception of that described in policy 4.2.3.1. And 4.2.3.1 just talks about like agricultural uses, conservation uses, forestry. As previously mentioned, the applicants are requesting a new lot line boundary along a creek, which would be considered development inside the vegetation protection zone. And vegetation protection zone essentially just means buffer of a key hydrologic feature. Such a proposal would conflict with section 4.2.4 of the growth plan. This was confirmed in my correspondence with the county as well. As previously mentioned, the applicants, contrary to the lot line boundary proposed on the GHC study, are proposing to establish a new lot line along Belfort Creek. In light of this, the township recommends that the council advise Peterborough County Land Division that the township does not endorse the application for consent to create a new building lot referenced under application B 8222. However, should Peterborough County Land Division approve the consent application under certain circumstances or unique circumstances, the following conditions shall apply. Number one, that $1,000 cash in lieu of parkland be paid to the municipality for the lot created. That's pretty standard for all lot creations in or severances in our township. That a rezoning of the severed and retained parcels be obtained to the satisfaction of the municipality. Usually in those cases, we do 2 applications, but we'll loop all of them in one. That an MDS investigation be completed for the northern adjacent lot. That an entrance permit for the severed lot be successfully applied for, and that the balance of this report be received. So, in other words, we sort of just leave it to Peterborough County Land Division. I mean, we're just a commenting agency at the end of the day. And Peterborough County Land Division or the committee does have the final say and final decision on the matter. The township is also open to the applicants pursuing amending the application to reflect the GHD lot line boundary dissemination. And therefore the consent proposal would then be considered endorsable. And that concludes my.
Okay, thank you, Arya, and thank you for all the work that went into this. So as Arya stated in the end there, this does go to County Land Division, and basically today we're either endorsing it or not endorsing it. Personally, I would like to see it go to Land Division. I would like to see a motion to endorse this and send it to Land Division, because to me, you know, the creek is a natural severance. We always look at things like that. And the policy statement, you know, we're hearing about red tape and things like that. And I think this is a good example of red tape personally. So I think it's something that if we were to endorse this today and send it to Land Division, there's been a lot of work put into this by us and the applicant. You know, they followed all the rules here. So I think there has to be a way of making this work. So I would like to see it. I would like to see a motion, if possible, that we endorse this and hopefully be able to go along with the recommendation. If County Land Division passes it, we would go with the recommendations in there. For today, it would just be to endorse this and pass it over to Land Division.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I agree. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, when it does come to the committee, if we don't endorse it, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think it's gonna go too far. So I think that'd be a good thing. So I'll make that motion that we endorse it and send it to county.
I'll second. Second by Councilor Doherty. Any other questions or comments around that? Go ahead,
That's a
Ken.
good question. That's a very large piece of property to sever. Is that going to be one lot or numerous lots?
No, the one is the retain there, and then
Right.
the sever is one lot.
It's one. So could that be literally made into other several lots?
We can't, because we're not allowed to go across any wetlands with the
Perfect.
severance line.
That's the only one, and also the property's only allowed how many severances?
This number.
For
Okay,
family.
gotcha. Okay, I just want, this looks like such a huge.
Oh, I
piece of
know.
property.
It's hard to decide which part you want to say retain and which to sever, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way we were told.
So where the creek goes,
Yeah.
where you're retaining it, so are you thinking of moving your boundary line?
We don't want to make the line against the creek, so there's no.
Yeah.
There's a clear definition, who owns property.
It can't come this way because there's not the houses there. The existing house is just on the south east side of the creek. So there's not a 30-meter buffer ability there for the. There's no 30 meters just from the creek, not even the buffer zone.
Right.
It can't.
Okay,
So the severance line would have to be 30 meters on the other side of the creek. But it's just not the creek, it's also the wetland, right?
Because
So
I'm assuming that-
it starts to really cut its way. And if they want to do a straight boundary line, as we know is often the case, it really starts to cut that piece down.
right, gotcha. Okay, all right, no, I agree. It should go down.
So we have a move and a seconder.
Can I say something else, or do I have to wait till you?
Normally in this part here, there's no.
I can. So it's just another little thing is that was actually a major thing. The environmental impact study that we had done, in there was an amendment or an addition, a separate letter that said that Chris Ellingwood does accept severance along the creek with some conditions. So even though the overall report says it's a contrary to the growth policy, that he said, yes, you may go along, according to us, it's okay, as long as different stipulations were met. So we actually did get approval from him as well to do that. So that was really important. The other thing to notice too is that the bridge was removed in 2017, that Dale gave him access to that corner of his property. And now only for maybe 5 or 6 weeks in the winter can it be accessed from Keating Road. You have to go back out onto the main highway and then back in. So really it's become sort of a useless piece of property. So and it's the only place because of the wetlands that can be severed. So, but to stay along the creek, it just makes it make way more sense, because if you have that 30 meters that would be owned by whoever owns the pink part, the severed part, they're going to own 30 meters on the other side of the creek, plus whatever other part. So it's like, well, who's really going to be looking after that part of the land? So it's going to make more sense that way. And the only other thing, when you say we're contrary because of development, there's no development going along with severance. So severance is an invisible line, and it gives 30 meters protection zone where you can't build in it. So there'll be no development within the buffer zone of the creek. We'll still follow all of those. So, but thank you. I really appreciate the time. We appreciate the time and effort area you put into this. I know we were a bit pushed for time. I think you saw me coming and would run. But we do appreciate it. And it has actually, we've been at this since February of 2020. Even though it's official, it's been 3 years now, I guess. So at this, so 2 years, I guess.
Okay. All right.
21.
Thank you.
It started in February of 21. So it's been two full years. And we have had all the stipulations like Area said. We did hired everyone we were supposed to hire, and even a lawyer. And the lawyer recommended us go along the severance along the creek, rather than, because we could have gone as it's a natural severance and gone into all these documents, and which we tried to do, but it was very complicated. So making it navigable, if it was navigable, the creek, then it would be a natural severance. But he suggested, no, just go ahead with requesting it. So we followed everyone's advice. Anyway, I've taken up enough time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And so I do have a mover and a seconder for this. So all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so now we're going to move into delegations.
It's a real for us to leave.
Yeah, you can. Thank you.
Okay.
That's how we tried to get that out of the way. So. Okay. All right, Richard, welcome. Auditor. So. How are you, Richard? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, yeah, we're just kind of juggling the. Yes.
What is, I noticed you said you had a specified meeting time following.
Well, it's around 11 o'clock. So we're trying to give you as much time as we can. And if we need more, we're going to have to, but it's just like we got to get to the way. So
I have a meeting at Grand Lakes at 1 o'clock. So that's
okay.
all.
Yeah, it seems to be between us and them.
Yes.
Both ends of the county, you got to be there.
You think I drive the speed limit?
There's other occasions that week.
For some people. I don't have any. Neither do he. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna go into the your report here. You've been only up to 2021.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. We've completed the audit for December 31st, 2021. Yes, things are now beginning to get caught up to date within the township. So I believe it was just eight months ago that we did 2020. So yes, it's and the plan is to complete the on-site audit for 2022 in July. So that's the plan we're moving forward with. Yes. And as a result of the audit for 2021, then I will run through our presentation. There are a number of other documents within the package And this presentation slide condenses all those documents into a much more, we find, easier readable format than perhaps the detailed financial statements, but so that's what I'll start off with as part of the presentation. Where do I need to?
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
All right. So first off, within the consolidated financial statements is the independent auditors report. So that is our report on the financial statements, and that is a two-page document which where we comment on the financial statements and the responsibilities of both the auditor and management, and it runs through, as I said, 2 pages of discussion. But the second paragraph is the important paragraph that, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen at December 31st, 2021, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. A couple of things there. That is a clean, unqualified auditor's report. It's in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So those are required standards you have to follow. But I think when you look at your budget, you'll realize that how these statements are presented are on a different basis than how you budget. Going through, I will try to highlight what we think are the bridges between the two formats. So next we come to just a brief discussion of our audit procedures and what we've done to accumulate our evidence to present our auditor's report, and as well to the draft financial statements. We do look at the minutes of council meetings, and those are done up to date as to when the audit report date is. As well, of course, we do gather evidence on a testing basis, mainly by sampling and reviewing variances and trends, and then as well too taking a look at all your systems, how they operate through the financial system, both the inflows and the outflows, and as well too journal entries or items then that adjust those amounts. Next we come to where we're at in the audit process. Overall, the audit's complete pending council approval of the financial statements, receipt of the signed management representation letter, and receipt of legal letters that have been sent out. Overall, there was no difficulties during the audit or disagreements or with management. We did have excellent cooperation from your staff. Unfortunately, just due to changing staff positions throughout the pandemic, the records weren't always available to be audited when they would have normally been available. And as well too, there's for 2021, there's still the uncertainty note there for COVID-19. As auditors, we are required to let you know if we've come across any unrecorded differences that we've noted. This year, there was no items on that schedule. In 2021, there was just a reversing adjustment from 2020 related to about 26,000 for accounts payable, and those amounts have been cleared up and rectified by your current finance staff. So that's good to see. Next, we come along to looking at some numbers. So then these tables that are presented more so in a format that you would find in the detailed consolidated financial statements. So they are presented with the year, the most current year first, and then moving to the older years to the right. Overall, you'll see that you still, within your cash and investments, you still remain in a healthy position. And as a result, then the increases year over year were mainly due to the growth, about 400,000 in your investments. And as well too, setting aside additional funds and reserves, which then increased your cash balances. And then as well too, the taxes receivable, although up slightly, you still remain at 4.2% of the total levy, whereas to be in the low risk range as determined by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. It's 10%. So you're still doing a good job of keeping that amount low. So therefore, and percentage wise, it was the percentage remained the same as the prior year. You do have some small receivables, mainly HST. And then the one unique thing your municipality has that not many others do is just that loan receivable. And you'll see there's a corresponding short-term loan payable. That's $5.1 million. That's just related to the advance you took out to assist Peterborough Housing Corporation in developing the social housing project in the municipality here. So, and that amount has been repaid in 2022, and so therefore the $5.1 million on your asset side will goes away in 2022, as well as the liability. And the following slide gives you an idea as to just the trends. So then this goes with the most current year on the right this time, and that just moves across there to see your trends. You can see there that both your investments remain fairly consistent, and then as well too your cash has increased with the increase in reserves, and then as well too you can see the loan receivable coming online in 2019 and then to the maximum amount in 2021. And then we take a look at who you owe money to. And then first off is the $5.1 million as I discussed for the social housing project. You have your standard accounts payable and accrued liabilities. So those amounts remain fairly consistent. One thing to keep in mind within that amount is people who have credits on their tax accounts also get shown as payables for these statements. So that's about 160,000 of that amount. The one unique thing for piece of accounting is your deferred revenue obligatory reserve funds. So these are monies that you receive and as a result, but then you don't utilize them until you spend them related for gas tax and parkland. So you may get the gas tax money, but until you spend it within the requirements of the agreement, that revenue sits on the statement of financial position until you use it in accordance with their guidelines. And then as well, you also have some other deferred revenue, mainly COVID and recovery and from the province is the largest component of that to be used in 2022. And then as well, a unique thing under PSAB, your landfill post-closure liability, that's an estimate of future monitoring for your landfill sites until they are closed as they no longer accept waste. So that amount there is something that although you don't have to raise the tax dollars for right away because it's already built within your budget, but according to PSAB requirements, you do have to record that. Next is just the part of that showing the trend. You can see there the higher yellow lines are consistent with the higher orange lines for the loan. Next we come to your non-financial assets. So previously the assets we did look at are considered items that are either cash or will be turned into cash. And in this situation, non-financial assets are assets you own and hold and use as you provide the services throughout the municipality in future years. And of course, your largest amount is your tangible capital assets. The amount reported there is the net book value of those assets. And as well, too, you do have some prepaid amounts for fuel inventory at the end of the year within the roads department. Next, we take a look at the consolidated statement of operations. So this is a one-page summary that shows your total PSAB revenues and expenses, and then your opening surplus for both the budget and the 2 prior years actuals. And then the lower piece provides you the reconciliation. So these are the differences presented in the reconciliation part that kind of bridge you between your tax rate budget and the financial statements for PSAB. So of course, utilizing of reserve and reserve funds for your budget, can be a revenue and an expense, but not for PSAB because it's part of your equity. And then as well, too, tangible capital assets. You need, of course, budget for what you think you're going to spend so you can raise that money. So as you can see there with the use of transferring amounts to reserves, everything operationally does come out to zero. Next, we come to just a slide breaking your accumulated surplus down, and as you're in the correct position, there's the you always want the orange bar to be higher than the blue bar so that you have more equity than what you just have tied up in your assets. So you have, as you will see in slide 19, you do have reserves moving forward. Next, you'll see there revenues, expenses, and annual surplus over the last 5 years. And in 2018 and 2019, you can see there just based on grants and when timing of certain capital projects when you did receive that as a result, then you did have a higher annual surplus in those years. And then in those years where you do not have capital grants and you start your amortization is then higher than previous years, then you would expect the gray bar to decrease. So next we have a slide that's more or less right out of the financial statements, and you can see there overall that your budgeted revenue was higher than your actual revenue within the province of Ontario line. You had budgeted for a connecting link project that unfortunately did not come about. So there was a $2.8 million budgeted for that. So that creates the variance there. And as well too, when you take a look at user charges, things like the arena, water and wastewater charges, building permits, planning fees, landfill fees, all those things are all cumulative in that $1.6 million there. And as well with the with your investments generating a fair bit of income, you can see there your penalties and interest and investment income is higher than budgeted, and that's, as I said, due to your investment growth. And as well too, you also use some of the federal gas tax. So Round Lake Road was used for about 326,000 and Sawmill Road for about 137,000. Making up those amounts there. And the next slide you will see is just shows the pie chart of that, and that's fairly consistent with property taxation being your largest source of revenue. And as well to keep in mind, the numbers presented here are the revenues just for the township share. The tax bill includes both the county share and the school board share as well. So, next we come along to your expenses on a PSAB basis, and you can see there that overall the expenses were lower than budgeted in 2021, both within the during the pandemic. Certain things, of course, you couldn't do, or you couldn't incur certain expenses. Winter control for most municipalities was down, so you can see there in transportation services, you had a savings there. As well, too, when you take a look at the line called health services, that does include both the operations of the health center, but as well as the cemetery board that gets consolidated with your organization. And then as well, the recreation and cultural services, it includes your own operations as well as the operations of the library board. A number of things added in as part of the consolidated basis. And then as well to protection services, fire department, and building costs were lower, and the largest component within protection services is your policing contract. And then there's the pie chart of that.
Richard, we had a question about why cemetery is linked into health services.
That is a very good question, and that's the way the province has determined for the financial information return, where they determine the categories.
Okay.
Yes, so right.
And how do you like it? Do you want people to ask questions as you go along, or do you want them at the end? How would be easier for you?
Probably easier to do it as we go along.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions, feel free, or
since we're all behind 17, or we could just then.
Yeah, let's get through this.
Okay. Now, this next slide just looks at your expenses as to the type of expenses they are versus being broken down into the various categories as determined by the province. Overall, your salaries and benefits are your largest component, as that's how you deliver most of your services, up slightly from the prior year, but still below budget. And you can see there within contracted services, that's where your policing contract is. And then as well too, your amortization was a little higher than budgeted. And you can see that amount there. And then you can see the just the pie chart of that there. Now we come to slide 19, which to me is the most important in all the slides we've looked at thus far. It gives you an idea as to what makes up your $46 million in accumulated surplus and why you don't have that amount in your bank account. So, and you can see there that it does break down the components between the first line being the amount you have invested in your capital assets. So that's your largest component of your accumulated surplus. So therefore you've invested those dollars into roads, buildings, your water and sewer facilities, all those type of things are part of the largest component there. And in your case, you're fortunate you do not have any unfunded capital or any long-term debt associated with that. So it's all that is all free and clear. Your landfill post-closure liability is sitting there because, as I said, it's an unfunded amount. So that'll be just that liability is already built within your tax rate budget for monitoring costs. And then your one local board, the cemetery board, does an accumulated surplus at the end of the year of $113,000. So that's the surplus deficit component. And then it's the reserves and reserve funds that the municipality has that they can utilize moving forward. So then these are items then that you can use. Predominantly, they're set aside for a lot of capital, so therefore you would utilize your reserves in conjunction with your long-term capital plan, your asset management plan, and then looking at your other sources of revenue through gas tax and available grants, so that you can maximize the use of those funds, and then as well have your corresponding township commit or a portion of those things, so that ideally the structure would be is that you could then manage that, manage your tax rate so that it's on a nice consistent basis, as opposed to having large spikes within the rate at whenever you want to do a major capital project. So therefore you're in that position now. And then as well too, I think from what I gather, there's a lot of larger capital projects that you need to do. So therefore you can utilize those funds moving forward.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, and that's probably the best slide as far as like the biggest question we get here, and we ask you every year. I know Hart and I last year were probably asking the same question, but when it comes to reserves, is there a simple answer for everyone, like as far as what should be there, what we have to have there, like between dedicated and undedicated? Is there a number that we should look at to say, you know, we've always been pretty healthy. We've, you know, there's been no, we've always lived within our means, but it's hard to explain to people like that have this thing that we have way too much in reserves, and I don't know what that number is to say we have too much, but you know, there is a balance I'm sure that we need to be at. So do you have any simple answer, I guess, like
yeah, well, that's because a lot of this is based on your comfort level, plus what you expect is coming up. I think in discussions even earlier today, I think you have some larger projects that you need to do that are quite significant in dollar costs. So therefore, if you project that out over the 10 years and look at where that is, of course, as a conservative accountant, I would say more is always better. But then, of course, I'm not paying not always paying your tax bill either, right? So, but still like that fine balance that. Yeah, so it's, but I believe you got a project on the go for the arena in 2022, do you not?
Yeah, well, we've got that. We have some money that's going to that, and George Street's going to be coming up, and we do have a lot of big projects coming
That's right.
forward here.
And of course, you're always obligated to commit.
Yeah.
That portion, and of course, you're always on the hook for the amount that the project goes over budget. Yeah, so it's, I mean, other funding agencies will fund you to, let's say, 70% of X amount. Well, once you go over X amount, that's 100% municipal dollars. So that's why you do have the ability to then draw on those resources, because lately I haven't really seen too many projects coming in under budget.
No,
in the capital side of things.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
Mr. Chair, there seems to be a lot of confusion with respect to reserves and reserve funds. I'm not sure how they could make it more complicated than they do. But our biggest problem from an outside looking in is we're sitting on $16.5 million of cash, and we have crumbling infrastructure and roads. That's not really inaccurate. So please clarify for me which one, reserve funds or reserve, where we put the money that we budgeted for in, let's say 21, but did not get spent until 22. Where does that money sit until we actually get the work? And it could be even maybe not getting the invoice into the following year. So what category does this money sit in? Reserve or reserve fund?
So the distinction between reserve and reserve fund is that a reserve fund has a specific asset attached to it. Whereas a reserve, it's just sitting in your, let's say, your general bank account.
Kind of like a work in progress then.
Yeah, so therefore it just matters where is the asset attached to that. As to the, so that's the, I'm not sure if you're an accountant, but that's the debit side.
Oh, no, I know about debit or credit.
Pardon me?
I don't know much about
Okay.
credit.
Yeah, so on the, so right, one side in accounting, one side always equals the other. So from the credit side, the reserve, if it's a reserve or a reserve fund, it doesn't matter. You can draw on it because they're all discretionary. They're all within council's purview on how to use them. It's just on the asset side. Is there a specific asset attached to that reserve fund, or is it just in the general bank account?
That, I'm sorry, you even furthered my confusion. You said if it's hooked to an asset, you said we could spend it anywhere, but it's hooked to an asset. So do we have to spend it on the asset it's hooked to, or can we spend it on any asset, period?
Sorry, when I said asset, I meant like a bank account or an investment. So if you want to then spend that money out of that reserve fund, then you'll take that money out of that bank account, transfer to the operating account, and then pay the vendor. Right, because you normally don't have checks for out of an investment or something. Yeah.
Oh, that was clear as mud. Thank you.
Sorry about that, but I think, yeah, maybe not get confused between the terminology between reserve and reserve fund. It's just the fact that
I don't think they could have done a worse job in naming the accounts.
that's right.
To create confusion, because from the public, they want them readable and understandable. This doesn't tick either of the boxes, in my humble opinion.
Public sector accounting doesn't necessarily agree with a whole lot of even designated accountants. We have people in our own office that won't even touch it. So
I guess.
yeah, so I'm trying to, with the presentation, just trying to make the link between the two. So
Yeah, thank you.
Good, Kathy.
So, okay, so the reserve fund, so our George Street rebuild. That money is sitting in the reserve fund because we're not spending it until it's actually happening? Is that sort of clear?
Yeah, so just use those terms from this presentation, use those terms together in the fact that it's money you have set aside to use for a project.
Okay.
Yeah, and further to your other question, Any amounts that were unused at the end of the year were transferred into your reserves by department.
Yeah, but they don't carry forward. In other words, we don't keep moving the budget. That has already been looked after. It's an outstanding work in progress.
It's
Right. It's already, we've got an RFP or a contract and it says we're going to do that. We just haven't paid for it yet. So does it carry over to the next year's budget as well?
If it does, then it just should be coming out, then you use the money out of the reserve to offset it, so it has no impact on the tax rate.
I understand that. But why carry it forward to the next year? It's already been dealt with.
Yeah, that's just a preference on how you.
Okay.
budget. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so that we still have the money sitting there.
Yeah.
But we haven't used it, but we've allotted it for something.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Because you don't want to raise the tax dollars this year and then raise them again next year. That's the issue.
So in the back of our minds, it's sitting there, it's been allotted, but it's not part of our tax increase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lionel, did you want to add
Yes,
to that?
Chair. I know there are municipalities that do have it approved in a prior year, and they don't see that in next year's budget. It's been a practice here that the budget is somewhat of a work plan moving forward. So if in a prior year, say for instance, like a community center, an amount had been budgeted, and for instance, if it was an even smaller project and the money wasn't spent due to what Mr. Stegani was saying in terms of the money not spent going back into the reserves for each department, then instead of stay in the original year, if it was funded from taxation, that unspent money would be automatically moved to reserves. And so when you see that in the budget next year, it's not, oh, that money's coming from taxation. The other side of the debit and credit is actually coming out of the reserve. So you don't dip into taxpayers' dollars twice.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, we all have troubles with trying to explain that part of it, like, we know from listening to you that we're not hitting them again for it, but perception when you read these, they're not as, I guess, like Jerry's term, it's clear as mud, and it's a hard thing to explain, so I guess that's what we're trying to do here.
But if you mention it in the draft budget, then people get the impression that we are double dipping into the taxes, and we effectively are not double dipping. It's already a paid project. It's just outstanding, right? That's all it was. That, is the mud getting a little clearer for me here?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Just keep in mind too, you've always segregated any surpluses for water and sewer, because that's a specific user group, so that's why that reserve is set aside specifically.
Yeah.
It's not the impact township wide, so.
Yeah, we have a few things in there that are just counts for the town or the village themselves, and that's why we have the area rate. So,
yeah, because when you look at your internally, when you're in your management prepared spreadsheet on your reserves, it's over 150 lines long as to how these things are divvied up, and we show them here in 5 lines. So, yeah. Yeah. And then, then the next slide gives you a 5-year display of that. Next, if you can ideas to then your tangible capital assets and where you spent them. And as usual, the roads and bridges is your largest components. And as I said earlier, you did work on Round Lake Road, Sawmill Bay Road, where you use gas tax from to fund some of that, and then as well Old Norwood Road and Concession Street. And then as well within equipment, you have acquired a plow, and then of course you acquire some land in town here. As the amount showing there in green, as you can see there's your additions versus amortization over the years. Next we have the just some ideas to. The green portion is the unamortized portion of your tangible capital assets, and keep in mind these bars will vary greatly because, of course, when you acquire a new asset, it's at a whole lot higher dollar value than one you might have acquired 20 years ago. So, yes.
So Richard, can I just comment on that? So when it's showing the remaining in green,
Yes.
so when you're getting at 50% or less, that's an indicator that needs attention.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. And although roads and bridges might, as I said, keep in mind the impact of recent additions will change that composition. So if you put in a significant bridge or did significant road work, you might get more green, but then of course the other roads in the municipality may not be where you want them to be.
Right, so I'm specifically looking at buildings in that graph.
Mhm.
So that would indicate that we have some deteriorating buildings that need attention.
They're being well amortized.
Right, yes, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the final one is your net financial asset, the 5-year trend. So you're in the black, you remain in the black. And that's in your case, very, very close to the amount of reserves you have. So that's what you can utilize moving forward. There are municipalities where it dips below the line and the graphs do go in the red positions for ideally not the position you'd want to be in. Flexibility moving forward financially.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Richard, we'll open it up if there's any other questions from council. I know you're going to be moving into the 22 soon, and or not soon, but that'll be the next thing on the plate. But what's the best way, like if there's any questions like after today and they wanted to, clarification on anything here, did they just call you or did they
What on here you can,
or somebody at the office?
so yeah, provide your questions to Lionel and we can discuss.
Yeah.
Back to you, or I could zoom in for further commentary. I do see it's 11:02 now, so yeah.
Yeah, without rushing things, no, that's the thing. There is, like, we're moving into budget here next week, and so there's going to be lots of questions around a lot of this stuff. So I'm sure there'll be questions for Lionel, and either we'll go through him or and reach out to you, I guess. So is there any other questions around today's?
Just a quick one. Is it normal to have that many journal entries at the end of the year?
I think, but a lot of them are related to tangible capital assets. I believe probably the one you're looking at, does it say TC?
I don't know. There's about 5 pages here, so I didn't pick one in particular.
But if you look on the left-hand side under number, if it does say TCA, then that's, I think, the one page you were just looking at, it should say TCA.
Yeah, TCF, and there's another one that says CEM and LIB and.
Cemetery, library.
Yeah.
So they're, your books do not include tangible capital assets. And so they're, or the changes. So then what we do at the end of the year is we put all those in. So that's why it's so lengthy.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have any other questions? Okay, all right, well, thank you, and I'll look for a motion that we receive the.
We need to approve the finance.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried.
Richard, can I get you the signed documents later?
I'll leave them in this package. And
That's perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so first motion here is going to close, and then we'll come back to planning. Sorry, Arya, but we'll come back after the closed session and finish the agenda.
So we have to pick you.
So I'll look for a motion to go into closed session under, I don't know. The closed section under 239(2)(b) of the Municipal Act for personal matters and identifiable individuals. Section 239(2)(e) of the Municipal Act for litigation and potential litigation. For the Administrative Tribunal. So motion to go into closed by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? Carries. There's no vote here. That we,
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So what's your thoughts here? We can go past the curfew. Today was kind of an exceptional day with the 2 delegations. So, they were pretty heavy duty and needed to be done. So You want to try and get through the rest of the agenda? I'll take a motion that we go past the curfew and we carry on with the open session. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Flagler.
Yeah.
All in favor, and that's carried. So we'll get Arya back in here for, there he is.
On cue.
You must have heard me. All right, we're in open now and we're you have the update about Bill 23, planning changes.
Through to you, Mayor, members of council. Yes, so the purpose of this report is to inform council of recent legislative changes resulting from Bill 23, which is referred to as the More Homes Built Faster Act 2022, and to seek approval for proceeding with the necessary changes as proposed by this new legislation. Excuse me, the recommendation of my report is that council authorize staff to proceed with the requisite preparation of material required to implement the legislative changes as a result of the passing of the More Homes Built Faster Act, which is referred to as Bill 23, and that the balance of this report be received. Just a little bit of background commentary, I guess, over on Bill 23. Bill 23 essentially introduced some sweeping changes to a number of acts and regulations, including the Development Cost Charges Act, the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and many others. The bill was passed on November 28th, 2022, which was 4 months ago, and it received actually royal consent that same day. Therefore, it is now some of the sections are currently in effect. And while municipalities across Ontario are continuing to wait for regulations to come through because regs have to be passed after such an act comes into play, all these changes as presented by the bill, some have been implemented, some still haven't. So we're waiting for some regulations. A fulsome now to go over all of the changes would be extremely cumbersome for council today. However, some of the changes that are being proposed, for instance, like third-party appeals are eliminated for minor variances and consents, for instance. No one other than the applicant, the municipality, certain public bodies, and the minister will be allowed to appeal minor variance or consent decisions. And then a whole host of other factors relating to, parkland dedication, gentle intensification, such as like allowing up to 3 principal units on one residential lot. So there's a lot going on, and some of these regulations are currently in effect, but we're still waiting for regulations to come through. So please keep in mind that these are significant changes to planning legislation, and it will take time for both the industry and municipalities to fully absorb the changes and understand what these proposed legislative items are going to have, the effect that they're going to have on the workings of the municipal administration. So staff hereby, it is the recommendation that staff hereby request council to work, to allow us to work closely with our planning consultants, FOTEN, to ensure that the requisite changes to the planning documents and tools are implemented to conform with the legislative changes. And that concludes my report.
Thanks. Very good. So I'll look for a motion to go with the recommendation there. Here, moved by Councilor Clements, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. Is there any questions around this item? Okay, pretty straightforward. All in favor? And that's carried. Next item is merger agreement.
Through to you, Mayor, members of council. Yes, a merger agreement for Allison. Well, the last names are Allison/Haynes. The purpose of this report is to seek approval for a merger agreement pertaining to the property identified as 88 Fire Route 85E, and it's located with a legal description on lot 30 Plan 11, Concession 8 in the Methuen Ward, as identified by consent, the condition of consent to sever B 2321. So the recommendation of this report is that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into a merger agreement with the applicants of the consent application to merge the severed parcels with the abutting lands. Just a little bit of background information. So there was a consent application, it was B 2321, and it passed the council's approval on May 18, 2001. 2021. And the Peterborough County Land Division Committee issued the attached notice to my report. This was done on July 5th, 2021, in which they had a condition number 4 stipulating they're required for a merger agreement. It's pretty straightforward. That kind of concludes my report to council.
So the area there, from the retained lot, that red is gonna move in with the area that's gray, is that? Just to give it a clear. Okay.
Do we have the illustration done by any chance? Yeah, so usually through to you, Mayor, usually in those cases, it's the green parcel and then the red and then they merge. They're not creating any lot, it's just a lot addition, but in those cases, they have to have a legal document stipulating that, yes, the title, they have been merged off. And that requires the clerk and the mayor to sign off on that.
And the lot remaining is okay as well.
Yes. So it passed council's approval 2 years ago, I believe. It also passed land division committee, and now we're just taking care of that last condition. There you go. That's essentially what's being proposed.
Okay. There it is there, and okay, so I was look for a motion that we move the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Doherty, all in favor. And that's carried. Okay, and the last one on here is the severance with nurse.
Through to you, Mayor. Members of council, the consent application before council is for the creation of one lot being referenced as application B1423 for Mr. John Nurse in the Havelock Urban Settlement area along King Street. Just a little bit of background information on this property. The property in question comprises approximately 1 acre, a little over 1 acre, together with approximately 47 meters of frontage on King Street East. I think we're all familiar with where this is located. It's in the village of Havelock, and it's located on lot 358, plan 16. It also has a municipal address of 23 King Street East. The application now before council was filed with the Peterborough County Land Division in February of 2023. Prior to submission, however, the consent proposal was subject of a preliminary severance review completed by Peterborough County Planning Department in July of 2022. We also had previous correspondence with the applicant over, what would be required moving forward with such a consent application. If approved, the lot to be created will comprise approximately 0.3 acres in area with 24 meters of frontage on King Street East. The retained parcel would comprise an area of approximately 0.9 acres in area with roughly 23.7 meters of frontage on King Street East. So the recommendation of my report is that council advised Peterborough County Land Division that the township endorses this application, that $1,000 cash in lieu of parkland be paid to the municipality for the new lot being created, that an entrance permit for the severed lots be or the severed lot be successfully applied for, that a rezoning of the severed and retained lots be obtained to the satisfaction of the municipality. Now, I do believe that we can ask for two zone amendment applications, but we can loop it all into one. And that the balance of this report be received. Generally speaking, in relation to the information provided in my report, it is a township planning opinion that the proposed consent applications conform to the application conforms to the policies of the township's official plan and the regulations under the zoning bylaw. Under the PPS, which is the provincial policy statement, in particular, section 1.666. Planning authorities may allow lot creation only if there is confirmation of sufficient sewage reserve capacity and reserve water system capacity within the township's municipal infrastructure. Confirmation was obtained by the Township Public Works Department, sharing no concern with the service capacity to accommodate the creation of this new lot. Therefore, in conclusion, based on the review, it's generally in conformity with the township's official plan as well as the zoning bylaw. Staff is therefore able to recommend that the approval of this consent application be endorsed.
Thank you. So, that'll open to go with this, move this, Deputy Mayor Webb and.
Okay, if I did, yeah, this is just I'd like for clarity, because at the back end of the lot, it approaches upon wetlands or whatever, is like, there's no problem with that.
Through the mayor, yeah, so what happened here, that is, you actually picked up on it quite well, so the PSR, the preliminary service review, when they had done the review, the lot was extending over into the wetlands, they've since revised that proposal, it's now coming outside of that wetland property, and they had done an environmental impact statement or an environmental study to support the consent application, and the pretty much the study just said that it's endorsable and it won't, provided obviously that the measures like the rezoning to environmental protection takes place and some of the recommendations in the report are followed through. There is no issues with the consent application.
So they're moving the lot lines back to get out of the wetland area.
Yeah.
And where does it go then? Is it just becomes Matheson property then?
Through to you, Mayor. So so in the application, this is the PSR. So this is the first one. If you look at the application in the next couple of pages, this should be up here.
So it'll stay with the property, like with John's property, right?
Right there.
Oh,
So those are the wetlands towards the back. The lot is now further towards King Street East, away from the wetland.
the back end of the lot moved up, and then John will retain the property behind it.
Exactly.
Who retained it?
The property, Johners.
So the owner that we're severing it from.
Yeah,
retains
he's
the owner of the
keeping a little
back.
extra property there.
I must have missed that. Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, so we have a mover and Councillor Doherty was seconding it there. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Great then. The end of the road report, we're moving into the staff report information and the department activity report there. Received. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? That's carried. And we're moving into with follow-up action, staff reports with follow-up action. So Travis.
This report's follow-up to our February 21st meeting with the building fees. Since then, we provided notice as required under the building code and the building code act. It was provided in the on the website and in the rail as well. No changes have been made to the Schedule A that we proposed before, the fees we discussed with council. They remain the same in the bylaw here. So for this part of the report, it's just speaking the schedules. And it's recommendation that council approve the building permit fee revisions outlined in Schedule A. And that bylaw 2015-04 be rescinded with the implementation of bylaw 2023-16, and that this bylaw come into effect on July 1st, 2023.
Questions around that? I'll take a motion to move the recommendations. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, next is code of conduct.
Yeah, the next report is with respect to the code of conduct. So upon reviewing the building bylaw, it was determined that we couldn't find a code of conduct for the building department for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. We drafted this one. Outlines the code of conduct itself, outlines the purpose, the standards of conduct and professionalism, and guidelines for responding to misconduct allegations. They wanted to make sure that everybody here is working as they should, treats everybody fairly. We're all playing by the same rules.
Okay.
This recommendation that council adopt policy number 60, being a policy to establish code of conduct for the chief building officials, and inspectors for the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen as presented in the report.
Yeah. If not, I'll take a motion to raise the recommendation. I'll step Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. And the next one is the building
And the last one is the building bylaw itself, so just go through a couple changes that we made to the building bylaw. We're reviewing it under number 4, just some changes in there with respect to cloud permit, now that we're online for applications as opposed to paper copies. Number 411, that speaks to the building without permit. In the existing one now, it spoke to the fees being doubled when somebody built without a permit, but it also had a cap of $5,000. So we've removed that cap of $5,000 under here and just it works into as a double permit fee it is. Number 6 speaks to fees. That wasn't in the bylaw itself. It was under a municipal policy numbers 23. So we're looking to rescind that policy, and we've included a refund of fees within the bylaw itself. And that just speaks to if somebody submits an application and we only do administrative and zoning functions, then we return 90%. If we've done administrative zoning and plans exam, then we refund 80%. And then once we start doing inspections, there's a 75% and then 5% for each additional inspection after that, and no refund less than $150. We've added the code of conduct under number 9. Number 11, the penalties. I've taken the section out of the Building Code Act and put the penalties in there as well. Number 12 was miscellaneous. And number 13, just referred to the short title. The bylaw shall be known and may be cited as the building bylaw. 14, the repeal. The bylaw number 2010-38 as amended, and all policies in regards to fees and refunds are hereby repealed in their entirety. So that's speaking to the municipal policy number 23. And then the effective date as directed by council, for the bylaw come into effect on July 1st, 2020. It's a recommendation the council approve building bylaw, the bylaw section of this council meeting, and that bylaw 2010-38 be rescinded with the implementation of bylaw 2023-17 and the bylaw come into effect on July 1st, 2023.
Any questions around that?
Sorry,
Okay.
the cloud permit. So if I want to build something, I can't do it paper anymore. It has to be through cloud permit? Or is there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So you can still hand draw them.
Okay.
Just have them scanned into a PDF and then they can be submitted that way through cloud permit.
Okay, but everything goes through cloud permit, period. Okay.
Any other questions? The recommendation? Councilor Clement? Seconder? Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item we have your correspondence. And we have some information items here, and I did want to speak to few information items there. What's that? I haven't got to there yet. Is there still a correspondence here first?
Yeah, but that's what, so you're going to speak about the natural
resources in Portage. That's the one.
Yeah, there's 2 of them in the correspondence that I was going to speak to, like the ones that they weren't action items, they were just those 2 things, and then we'll do the
ones again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, well, right now we're just in correspondence, so not the county thing yet, so. But one item is from the county, like it's the same thing, but okay, that was with regards to Ministry of Natural Resources. I sent this over to Bob. It was on our county agenda last week, and it's something that I think we should support and they're harmonizing the thing around. It started off around water and accommodations on the water, and they were speaking more of things other than houseboats. There was talk of sea cans and whatever. But the part that's of interest to us is they're harmonizing it with the on-land things such as camping. Right now, there was a thing of 100 meters you had to move after 21 days. Now it's 1 kilometer if this gets approved. So I was hoping that we would support this and send our support to this. When did it come forward? It doesn't matter anyways, but if council would make a motion that we support this, that the province is doing this regulation 161.17, it'll benefit us in the end. As far as the online camping is another issue a big issue we have. So, okay. So Deputy Mayor Webb is moving it. Do I have a seconder? Yeah. Councillor Clement, questions?
So this is just in regards to the floating homes and barges, right? Like
And
a
on-land
houseboat can
camping.
still be on there.
And what?
Houseboat. can still-
Yeah, other than the distance from the shoreline is changing and things like that, but
Oh.
there's
Well, to that, that's what they're trying to clarify, I think, is some of this, because you have people, as Jim said, I'm sorry, the mayor said, they're putting like these,
Tents?
what do you call them, sea cans on floats or whatever, right, and calling them houseboats, so they're trying to tighten up the language around what actually is a houseboat. So the word they're using is, it's gotta be navigable, I guess would be the word, not very word to pick, right? But anyways, to navigate waters, it can't just be kind of like a floating barge, basically. This is what I guess most of this is propping up from the Muskokas, although we are hearing that the Trent Lakes area is seeing some of the sea cans here for the first time. So
Clarify a sea can.
like a storage container, like the storage containers, big steel storage containers.
Looks like that.
Oh, yeah.
put them on a pontoon,
Yeah, like transport.
Yeah.
And throw that on the lake, cut the top off it.
anchor them off
People
people's
are
docks.
to make little holes out of them and stuff too, yeah.
Wow, okay,
Okay, so
yes, I'm in on it,
all in favor of that motion?
yes.
And that's carried, okay. And the last item in the correspondence, we can either receive it, it was about Bill 5 and stopping harassment and abuse by local leaders. I don't know. That
Make a motion to receive.
yeah, we can receive that and seconded by, that was Jerry and Hart, all in favor? Carried. And then all right, then, so now we're moving into committee liaison reports. This is your county update. I know it's full thunder on the one side, but
Yeah. So we've already reviewed, county meeting was pretty thin, last week. The mayor already kind of went over one of the, things we discussed was just this, Ministry of Natural Resources regulations regarding, on water houses or boats, I guess. One other thing we covered, but I believe that was already presented here too, was, the community safety and well-being plan. Chris Koala presented here, I believe it was last month.
yeah.
So we just had basically the same presentation that the local council had on that and in terms of moving that forward. So not a whole lot besides that.
It was a fairly short meeting.
So any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer them. Good. Okay.
Let's
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to receive the county report. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Flagler, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, and so the next item in here is the library board meeting on March 9th, and there's some minutes there, February 2nd, so.
Right, okay, so you've got your minutes from February. So in March, we discussed the front of the building, and we've talked to Travis, we've talked to Brian. And we've decided that instead of trying to go for the gazebo, found a private donor who would donate a bench that will be, probably weld it down. Just for people that never rest, use the Wi-Fi and so we can go away from that one. We do want to look into the backyard. This is all just in work. The backyard maybe to be used for something else. There was a motion that the Historical Society wanted to use the backyard for parking. We vetoed that. We said, no, we want that kept for kids, families, whatever. And the other thing is, then we discussed April 29th, they're having a public library sale. And they're going to invite people from the public to participate. So there'll be the authors, like we have some local authors, we've got A lady's gonna come and do like a little gemstone find for the kids, so it's all based around families and kids, and it'll be April 29th. And it's to raise some more money for the library for the stuff. Yeah, it was good.
Good. Okay, any questions for Kathy? If not, we have minutes there from the February 2nd meeting. I take a motion to approve those minutes or receive those minutes, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. The next, that's all we had under activity report. So written or oral notice of motion. I haven't seen any written. Is there any oral notice of motion for today? Done. We'll move into other business. And so Councillor Doherty, you had a couple of things in there. Go ahead. Yeah. Cost of a newsletter insert for final property tax mailouts.
I think we're getting some costs on that.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, I can report, last time we did one of these, they're very inexpensive. They're approximately 15 cents each. We spent about $700. But that's not including postage because we inserted them in the tax bill. If we send them out individually, you're probably adding $1 a letter for postage.
So I think it was in the tax mailout is what we were looking for, is to see what it would cost to add.
What I was looking for.
Well, that's what it says.
I know, that's what I said, but it's just, I wanted to get it out with the first bill, but now I don't, when do we issue the final
After we
bill?
pass the, well,
I understand that, but we have a date
Usually
in
in June.
June.
Yeah.
And I thought if we could get one out, then if we have the budget passed, we might be able to highlight it, keep it short and simple, because we do know, or I'm pretty sure that we do know people get their tax bill. And they can't say, well, we didn't get this. That's all I was trying to do, and put some bullet points on it, not to make it a 3-page thing. It's just something for them.
We can certainly do that.
Yeah, just a thought. I don't know what the rest of council feels about it, but.
yeah, something that we should try. We used to do it, and we found that nobody was reading it. That's what I said to Bob. It would be interesting to put a little contest in there that there was something on there that they might win some bag tags or something, because a lot of people don't look at it. But it's time to try it again, because it's going out. It's an easy way to get to the people. I think it would be good to try it.
I like the idea in terms of the communication, but when we do it, so what are we focusing on? Are we focusing on telling them what we're doing? Are we?
Well, that's why I was kind of hoping that we get a notice of motion and we get some dialogue on it as to, I'm only one, pollywog in the pond here. So,
no, that's,
and I don't know what everybody else, I just want to get something out to them so that, I mean, I know we're always looking in the past in the straight pin and the.
How often are we going to do this? Is this a once a year thing? Is this?
Well, I think in order to piggyback on the tax thing, it could be twice, but I think really once would be a start.
Obviously, obviously we're gonna have to consider the cost of it, but all I'm getting at is in terms of so if we're gonna do it twice a year, I guess it wouldn't be that bad that we can do 2 updates a year, but I thought if we were going to say you're going to do it 3 or 4 times a year, then maybe one of them would be an update. Another one would be, I know we got a lot of things coming up in terms of our rate projects and the rest of this that we're bouncing this survey word around for to try and get public input. So I don't know if these surveys could be put in there or whatnot in terms of,
Well, I think the biggest thing we have is reaching the people, and I know we got the website is just wonderful and we should be using it all the time, but not everybody uses the website and sees it. But I do know that we get a tax bill. I can speak from experience.
It's a good question, Bob. So how many pages come in the tax bill? Just one sheet?
There's usually the bill itself plus there's usually about 2 or 3 sheets in it. Yeah.
So our newsletter would be 1 extra sheet.
Yep.
What if we put 2 sheets in there?
It could affect we'd have to check. Yeah, it affects your rate, right? So it affects your postage, but we could do it.
I agree with the idea of what we're doing, and twice a year to me seems, in terms of money, probably where we want to be. Just what I want to focus on is what we're trying to either tell the public or get from the public is what we need to figure
Because I
out.
think a collaborative effort would be, is I don't know what Beverly's thinking or you're thinking or anybody else is, that I just think we should have a newsletter. The content I didn't even go on to get into the content is because it's the feedback is we aren't getting information, and I know we're all tired of hearing that because you'll never hear the say we got too much. But I do know that that's.
No, I understand. I get the same thing, but at the same time, being here for the past 2 years, things have greatly improved. Oh, and I guarantee you that after we mail this out for a year, we will still hear from those people who say we haven't heard anything. So.
Well, yeah, but I think there's a good defense is they will, did you read did you get your tax bill? Yeah, well, then you have some an update in there. It's a little bit of diffusion, that's all.
And we heard that, I think it's the one person number, they made a statement about that.
Conversation through the chair, and that way we don't get going back and forth.
Sorry.
Yeah, so.
Now that we actually have the bylaws, we know how it works.
No, just to keep it going here, so, yeah.
Sorry,
Not members. Yeah, so just seeing it go offside, so Kathy?
So through you, Mayor. So, you know what, I wouldn't mind seeing that just a survey, something, you know, like just our elderly population, the big complaint is they don't read the internet, they don't do any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. If we could just sort of maybe cut on that, maybe just to have them drop it off at the township office or put it in our Dropbox or something. Just like you're right, a little more communication, especially for our elderly population.
So we have a little bit of time on this, and I might suggest that, you know, write down some notes or whatever, and we'll bring it back again as far as before that, but we got till June. It's going to be timely because there's going to be a lot of highlights of the budget would be able to go in that, because things that, you know, are happening, we can pull some of the things from there, and that'll be one good thing as far as for the people that don't look at the website. So.
Well, yeah, and further to that, like, sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. Further to that, I think it'll help us, as he said, gauge, like we're gonna have some projects, we're working on big projects now, but as we move through the summer here, maybe if we can get a handle on it now, you know, we could dial up a survey here for what we're gonna be doing in the next year or two, and get some feedback from the public on, do they like it, or would they like us to go a different way? Are we, you know, barking up the wrong tree? But quite often we sit here and have these conversations and try and figure out what the public is thinking anyways, right? So if we could do it this way, then we could get some real feedback. So. Sure.
Through you, Mayor. One more thing, we have 3 apartment buildings in town that don't pay taxes. And that's one of my elderly people said to me last week is we don't get tax bills. We don't hear anything. So maybe we might want to put in mind, get extra copies delivered to their mailbox, whatever.
That can happen too. You can always put them in a slot, like, you know, I've seen things like that, even as something as simple as on the gas pumps. In one of the towns I was in, they actually had township information on the gas pump in a pouch there that you pick up things, but.
Or you, Mr. Mayor, sorry, but I think you actually stumbled upon something. I mean, 3 tags for you're trying to get their attention and see whether they're participating. It's not far fetched, and what's it cost us? $5, and we get 50 back. I mean,
through the rail, is there not a section in there that comes?
We do updates in there every day, every month.
For those ones that are apartments, do they not receive the rail?
They do.
Wow.
So,
but that's not, sorry.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor. So that doesn't apply to something that we send out through the tax bill. That doesn't go in the rail.
No, I understand that.
So and that's the thing. So you know what? It's time to try it again. Let's get some good information in it and make it worthwhile, and see what kind of feedback we get. But there is an opportunity there to take advantage of. It's going out anyways, like Councilor Doherty says, so let's see what we can do with it. So
through you, Mayor Martin, if we're going to approach it that way by mail, could there be something on the website for those?
Well, it'll be on the website too.
Both?
Yeah,
Because there are some people that do the website.
It would be both. It would be.
I think it touches all. Through you, Mr. I think it touches all. If we're going to put it in the rail, we'll put it on the website. We can put it on our Facebook. We put on, but we do know definitively that everybody gets their tax bill. But that's, if not, they're paying us and not knowing what they're paying. And I do know there are people like that. Thank you.
So Okay, so
Apparently with the interest.
if I could get a motion that we
You have a
plan on an
motion.
insert, moved by Councillor Doherty, that we plan on putting an insert in the next bill, seconded by Councillor Clement, all in favor? And that's carried. And the next item here is a review of the procedure bylaw regarding the structure of the council meetings.
I don't even know what page you're on. I've been flipping over
That
here.
was the
No, it's-
last.
If you're other,
No, but I wanted the actual the bylaws to go through point by point, but I would like to make a motion that we receive and bring it back so we can get a chance to look at it.
okay,
It's quite extensive.
bring back the procedural bylaw, like.
Well, I quite frankly, I don't know where it is in here, and I did write down some questions. I got paper cuts here, so.
So the procedure bylaw is on your stick too, but if you want to review it,
It's attached to the other business.
Oh, yeah, I got the copy. I just can't find it. Nobody on your computer, like it should be.
it's on your computer.
Exactly.
On your, I do know it's on my computer, Stephen.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Remember, I can bring it back to the next meeting and
Sure.
we'll have that
Good.
discussion.
Okay, then. So that'll come back to the next meeting. All right, next, Deputy Mayor Webb, with regards to vision of the date of the scheduled budget meeting.
Yeah, just a personal thing here. I think I've talked with a couple of members of council already about this. In the past, that morning, we're having a regular council meeting and I'm gonna return for the budget in the afternoon. I've said to these members, what I've noticed in the past is we split meetings like this quite often. We come back after lunch. It's a little bit more relaxed and we're maybe not as focused as we should be. And given that this is, well, it'll be our second budget meeting, but it is the first budget for this council. I would just, was wondering to see if there's an appetite to possibly move that to another day so we could start it at 9:30 in the morning and go as long as, like, maybe it only takes 2 hours and we're done by 11:30, that's fine, but I'd rather do that and have a day dedicated to budget rather than have a regular meeting in the morning, have lunch, come back and then try and jump into budget. So I'll throw that out to everybody else. I'm not super set on it or whatever, so if you don't like it, that's fine, me too. But I'm just saying in terms of getting things done, I think we might be more productive as a group, going about it that way, so.
I totally agree. I've been through it enough that we have found that it's sometimes nice with budget stuff to start fresh and dive right into it, but it's up to council. Go ahead, Beth.
Are we not scheduled to meet on the 27th?
We are, but no, this is the second meeting. The one, we had another one scheduled for, that's the one that was scheduled for the afternoon of the 4th after our next council meeting.
So that was,
So,
budget is a 2-day process at least.
oh, at
Or is
least,
it like,
yeah.
Possibly
right?
three,
Possibly 3, okay.
probably 3.
So I was gonna suggest April 6th is the Thursday, if that works for anyone, but if not, come up with a date, like an alternative date to April 4th.
That's the Thursday before the long weekend.
Yeah.
I understand that. I don't have a problem with the 6th, and I agree wholeheartedly with, through you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with it, because I think we should try and get the budget process nailed down as recently as we can before we have another one coming up. So no problem. 6 works fine for me. And I'm sharper in the morning if I'm ever sharp at any time during the day, but the morning is better for me. Thank you, Art.
So
Thank you, Jerry.
if I get a mover for that we put a notice that the April 4th budget meeting be canceled, then we move it to 9:30.
I'm sorry. Okay. I have EATO meetings in there, I think.
Is it the first
I
Thursday?
think so. I have it here on my computer. I'll take a look. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it probably could be.
I can miss that one if you want.
Well, that's the other thing. It's probably, maybe that would be one to,
I could.
this is more important than that, but.
Wednesday.
Wednesday? I don't know. Do we have?
You have county.
And I'm busy on Wednesday.
Do we have county? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll do the 6th and then if it's in the meeting, I'll just tell her I'm sorry, I'm at the budgets.
Okay,
Mayor guy did that.
yeah, just plain me, just tell,
Oh, he did.
tell Jeremy,
Yeah, one person already did. I'm in budgets all day.
and that's what's happening with everything.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
so mover for the 6th of April, 9:30, that was Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor, and that's carried. Great chance. We'll move into bylaws, and the first bylaws to amend the building bylaw 2023 to reflect the new building permit fees. Moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. The next item is building permits and inspection bylaw. Heard about earlier. Motion to move that. Councillor Clement. Councillor Flagler, all in favor? That's carried. And the next one is to appoint a weed inspector. That's something that we do. You want
to explain that?
So this is through the county and you can start listing like, you know, there is several roads around where this guy, he'll be required to go out and spray mostly poison ivy. You know, I know last year, I think even by the beach there, he went up and sprayed some up there. All over the township, people will be requesting this and it's just to appoint somebody for this year, so.
And if I may, just to clarify, this is not spraying weeds on private property.
No.
This is about township road allowances.
Yeah. So, okay, so Kathy.
And through you, Mayor, so do we have same person, like, do we have a yearly person who does this for us?
This is
or-
through the county, so.
Well, through the county,
And every year it can be a new person.
Yeah. So,
but the county looks after it?
yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. All right then, somebody want to move that we appoint weed? Sure. Weed inspector, Councillor Doherty, Councillor Clement, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, and we've done the closed session. So it's a confirming bylaw. So we want to move the confirming bylaw for today's proceedings. Deb?
Yes.
Sure. Moved by Councillor Flagler, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor. And that's carried. And the motion to adjourn is Deputy Mayor Webb and Councillor Doherty. All in favor. Carried.